So next tool we're going to look at is the bonsai sort of specialist branch cutters, and we've got quite a dirty pair here. I left these dirty on purpose. So again, just clean on the outside. This is not essential for the cutting edge of the tool, but it's always nice to have nice clean tools in your box. So now the cutting edges of these and the head of the tool is much more difficult to deal with because of its shape. But what we'll start by just cleaning on the outside. So just with a wire brush, just clean off all of this dirt on the outside first. Okay, so that's the outside cleaned. Now cleaning on the inside is very difficult, mainly for the reason they've got this cutting edge here. So you've got to be very careful you don't cut yourself. So spray a little bit on the inside. This is where having a long-handled brush comes in useful. So just holding it still, nice. In there, and just clean off any of the dirt and the rust. Do the other side. Again, spray WD-40. Again, as with the wire cutters, you have to check to see if the blades meet. It's very much more important with these with the branch cutters to see if there are any gaps in there at all. So again, the trick to it is to hold them together, put it up to the light, and see if you can see daylight. Now with these, we've got a little bit of daylight poking through up at the top here, and if we look very carefully at the blades, because we've got a little nick in the top on this side, so we're going to need to take that out. So how do we do that? Now this is where having a diamond file is very, very useful, and we need to sharpen on both sides, both the inside and the outside of the cutting edge. So let's hold it like that, and then just with the finest one, what I'm going to do is draw it back towards me like this. Now the angle that I'm looking for is to try and make this edge here to as sharp a point as possible. So if you look at it along that plane, then what we're looking to do is to try and create that as sharper, come to as sharp a point as possible along there. Okay, and then again, trying to sharpen it on the inside is a bit more difficult. Okay, but we get an angle like this. You see that? Okay, just take off any of the little nicks in the edges in there. Again, with the finger, just check to see how sharp it is. It's fairly sharp on that side now. Okay. Let's go back onto the other side. And again, I'm just going to pull this towards me. Checking the angle at all times. Then a couple of times on the inside. That's nice and sharp. Most important to sharpen on the outside rather than on the inside. So look to try and get those blades meeting very nicely on there. This should be as flush as possible. It's very difficult to change that if they get out of alignment. So basically the trick is to not try and cut through anything too thick with these tools, otherwise you end up damaging them beyond repair. Now, I said earlier that I don't tend to use these so much. One of the reasons why become apparent if you look at how they actually sort of cut through the branch. And what we're going to do is going to cut through the branch with these branch cutters. Okay, these are freshly sharpened as well, so these are pretty much as sharp as you're going to get. Okay, I just want you to look at the end there. Just see how you see it begin to crush. It doesn't cut through, it sort of crushes through the branch, and it also leaves a strange looking, you can see that there, V shape after it's been cut. And so if you imagine that the crushed end is the end that's left on the tree, so we're cutting this branch off, cutting this off, and this is going to be left in the tree, and that's the bit that gets crushed or gets cut in this manner, then you're going to get a certain amount of, you're going to get quite a large amount of dye back from the area where the cambium layer has been crushed and damaged. The real benefit for these tools is for very rough cutting. So for example, this was a long branch on a tree and we wanted to get inside, we could do a bit of rough cutting in like this, just so we can kind of get to see the structure. Okay, and then we realised that actually we want to cut off here to leave this branch. Okay, so the best tool to use in situations like this is in fact a saw rather than that. So if I get in there with my saw, I can cut at the perfect angle and cut through very, very easily, flush to where the branch needs to be. Okay, and you can see the ends there not been damaged at all. Okay, they're not being crushed, and we're going to get an absolute minimal amount of dye back, and then finish off with a knife just to get a perfectly clean edge. It's a much better way of removing branches. Okay, but that's not to say that this branch cutter doesn't have its place in the bonsai toolbox, but just be aware of its limitations. So the next tool we're going to look at is the brother of the branch cutter. It's the knob cutter with the rounded edge. These are very good for getting in and cutting very close and creating very clean cuts on the trunks when you're removing branches and things. Again, these do have a bit of a crushing action, but the best way to use them is to eat away very slowly. So only take small sections out at a time, and that way you don't end up causing too much damage. Maintenance is pretty much the same as the There's the branch cutters. Again, just clean on the outside. Paying special attention as well to the insides of the cutting head. Okay, now I can just hear there got a bit of dirt and stuff stuck inside the mechanism, the moving joint there. So I'm going to make sure I get all of that out. Okay, so a lot of WD-40 in there. Work that in, and that's nice and smooth. So again, to check to see if there are any nicks or the blades are meeting, hold it up to the sunlight, see if you can see anything. We're okay on that side, but then inspect the blades themselves and look to see how they meet. I've got a tiny little nick out of one of the corners. Because I've got a nick, I need to take out quite a large amount of metal, so I'm going to go with the roughest. And the same as with the branch cutters, what I'm looking to do is try and get a sharper point here as possible. But because it's rounded, it requires a little bit more attention. Helps to rotate the tool as you're sharpening. I'm only applying pressure on the backward stroke, not on the forward stroke here. So I'm not doing any cutting as I push forward. Okay. I've almost got the nick out. A little bit more on that side. Just check to see how they meet. Okay, now it's much better. So now I'll move down the grade, medium grade file, and just even off the cutting edge. And then just a very quick finish with the fine one. Check to see how they meet again. This one, perfect. No problems at all. Just once on the inside as well.